her kid's hair, and she just lines us up in a row and goes down and cuts. But then she also was like, well, can you cut my hair? She just wanted a couple inches off, very long, beautiful red hair. And she wore a rugby shirt, like a striped shirt. So there was a stripe I could just follow with the scissors to make it easier. And even then my hands were shaking and I was nervous. That was too much pressure for any one human to take, I think.
Yeah.
That's a good strategy. The striped shirt. I'm gonna have to remember that.
Striped shirt is key with big bold stripes. So you know which stripe to go with. You know, if it's too fine, then it requires too much decision making.
Michael, how do your boys react to her cutting their hair? And also, does she cut your daughter's hair as well?
Yes, all of it. Yeah, so the boys are fine with it. They don't know any better. So we train them young and we'll request it and ask for styles and bleaching or coloring and that kind of thing. So it gets pretty fancy here. But they're fine, and it's just sort of the routine. But now there's a family friend who cuts hair. We'll go see her every once in a while just to see her. And they're like, why are we going to get our hair cut? Like they complain about going to a salon or somewhere else. So they've been trained that way. And our daughter seems on board with it too. So I'm trying to think of, it must be like $10,000 we saved over our marriage from this. I can't imagine how much money we saved from it.
I mean, everyone has always said, you know, you need a lawyer in the family, you need a doctor in the family. Well, during COVID,
auto mechanic, a hair cutter, hairdresser, exactly.
Yeah.
And Matt, I know it looks like you live in a cellar now, but this is your new office, right? Which is sort of historic building in Austin.
This is a very old wall built in 1905, I believe, 1904.
Shush it! Oh my God, that's gorgeous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is actually where they used to keep the horses.
Very cool.
This is in downtown Austin in the Judges Hill district, kind of just north of the Capitol, 15th Street and West Avenue. So we just moved right during all the COVID craziness out of one place we'd been for 14 years down on 6th Street, and decided to move during that time because our lease was up and the timing was right. So went from a 1940s bungalow to a 1905 stable.
Wow.
That's really cool.
You know, just one, I mean, we don't have that many family names that are meaningful in Austin the way San Antonio does. But one of the family names is Caswell, and this is at one of the Caswell properties in Caswell House. So there's the Caswell tennis courts and the Caswell House and the Caswell Carriage House where Matt is right now. So it has some significance for longtime Austinites anyway.
Yeah, also related to energy, there's a really interesting story that he and his son hooked up some sort of a generator that they had for their cotton gin to power Austin when the dam went bust. The second time, I think the dam collapsed, maybe the first. And they helped to keep out Austin, the lights on in Austin for a little while.
That's cool.
Yeah, they gave a lot of money to the parks as well, the park system here in Austin.
Founded the symphony, a lot of musicians in the family. I think I told you the great grandson, Tom Caswell, was a trumpet player in the marching band, the Longhorn band at University of Texas with me. So I knew him, which so the Caswells are still around. There's still some of them here and there.
Yes, but I don't have the cool bar like Emily has in the office. That's the thing I'm lacking here.
There's still time. You just moved in. Okay, Juan is texting us, at least a couple of us, a play-by-play. The video of Sherilyn Moore just played, apparently. So I don't know. So Katrina, I guess you have both. I'm just here on Zoom, so I don't see what's happening on Ovi.
That's right.
They're on you
Sherilyn
now.
is done, and we're in the middle. We just started the 30-minute video right now.
Okay, great.
Cool. You guys are the first person to screen that. It's hot off the presses.
International debut.
It looks really good.
Good.
Very impressed.
Thank you.
And we have 66 people watching with us right now. 67.
That's
Cool.
wonderful.
And these are mostly high school kids. Is that right? In terms,
I'll be honest with you. I don't know. The pictures that I am seeing don't look. For those who do have pictures, like little icon pictures, they don't look like high schoolers.
mm-hmm.
They look older. But I just don't know. I'm not really sure where they get the people from. Yeah.
I want to apologize really quickly. My boyfriend is taking his quarantine lunch break right now, and that his video games, and I think he said a naughty word a
Uh-oh.
few
We
moments
didn't
ago.
hear anything.
Okay. He put a quarter in the swear jar, so it's okay here, just in case there was something unsavory.
You might have to raise your ante and charge higher
Yeah,
price of
take away the booze.
Yeah.
There was one
And
of the Zoom. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say that Jill Vassar with Epicenter just said hello, so we know that she's on with us.
Yay.
Okay, go ahead, Rachel.
Oh, no, it wasn't important. I was just going to say, I know there's another Zoom meeting that we had, and the trash truck, excuse me, the recycling truck was going right outside the window, which is directly in front of me. There's like, it sounded like, there's an earthquake or something, and it's like nobody could hear it. So yeah, it's okay. I'm sure we'll skip hearing any words of frustration
Oh, yeah.
in a video game.
I'm surprised, especially for like those of us, I'm in an apartment and everyone else is in an apartment, that we haven't had like a fire drill or a fire alarm go off during a Zoom call yet. I know it's going to happen one day and it's going to be during like an extremely like important Zoom call, but it's going to happen. I know it. It's about time.
Well, I just had a super funny conversation with one of we had a Zoom parent meeting last night for my kids' school, and my high schooler is a theater kid. So like there's always singing, dancing stuff going on here. And the first 3 or 4 weeks of school, they have to be at home. They're doing all virtual, the whole school's doing virtual. And basically the directors told us last night, you're just gonna have to allow your kids to have a space where they can literally scream out loud. They can do their singing warm-ups. It's going to be loud. I don't want to hear that parents are keeping their kids from singing and warming up. And I was like, and so all the parents on the side were kind of like, how do you explain that to the boss? Don't worry about the scales you hear in the background, or like over and over again for like 10 minutes. It's going to be quite exciting. I'm like, so we're going to try to establish spaces far enough away from each other. I mean, I'm in one space on Zoom, my husband's in another space on Zoom, and my older son's going to be somewhere else doing his warming up and dancing and loud music and acting and screaming. And don't worry about the background.
Thanks for the heads up. My little man is heading to 6th grade. So this is, an introduction to middle school. And he's also very much a theater person, like dad and mom, but, we didn't want to push him in that direction. So we're just like, before COVID, when we went to visit the school, still, check and see what electives are interesting to you. And we were like super cautious. So we didn't want to be pushing him into, oh, well, this is what we like, so this is what you should like too. But he was just like, he fell in love with it immediately. It's really sweet.
Awesome.
And he got his voice from his dad, because I cannot hold a tune for anything. But he's a really good singer.
That's
Is that all in the public schools in San Antonio, or does he do theater outside, like at a private theater class?
He does, yeah, he does both. He does like he performs at the local theaters here. It's kind of like the Zach in Austin.
Yeah.
So it's called the Public Theater of San Antonio. That's where he does a lot of performing. But he goes to a magnet art school. So
Okay,
like
yeah.
high school that, like, they have to, it's like the Zach school. It's like the Zach theater
Mhm.
school. Like you have to audition to get in. So there's only 18 kids in his class.
That's really cool. I did theater when I was a little kid. My mom didn't know what to do with me when I was 8, and so she sent me to theater classes, and I did that till I was like 16, and it was really good for me.
Oh, it's so good. He's been doing it since he was 7. And my younger one kind of followed along for a while, and now he's sort of veered off and doing other things. But yeah, I feel like theater, like the ability to stand up and do things in front of a crowd of 300 or 400 people.
Yeah.
It teaches you so much about responsibility, about, staying focused and following your passions. And if you really want it, it's so good for you.
I think the time management skills that come out of it alone are like incredible. I did it when I was in middle school, and it was very much like you could not, start homework or do your own personal fun stuff until you got like your, whatever song you had to practice done with, or got out of rehearsal for the day or whatever. And having a foundation like that really early it will definitely build you success later on. It is an underrated.
Is your kid just starting out, Rachel, with theater stuff?
Yes. Hi, Hi, Paula.
Good morning.
He's doing well. Thank you for asking. Yeah, he's just starting out with it.
Cool.
Good morning, Paula Gold Williams.
I think she's not connected to audio
I
yet.
know she's still coming.
I'm gonna go plug in my computer really quick.
Good, good.
Okay. Can you
There
hear me?
you go.
Yes.
Good morning, Paula. How are you?
I am okay. I had to do the reboot.
Oh,
My whole computer needed a reboot, so I was a little panicked.
I think I need to do a personal reboot. Like if I could just turn myself on and off and kind of recalibrate, that would be good.
That happens every day for me personally, but my
Yeah,
system, it's always what I needed. It's good to see your faces
it's
Good to
so
see you,
good to
Boris.
see you
Hey,
too.
Katrina.
Good.
as well.
Huh?
Hi. So I'm good. I'm gonna sit there and follow everybody's lead. So
You got it. So just let me give you an update of where we are right now.
okay.
We have 66 people watching online with us.
Okay.
And they're over on OV doing their OV thing. You see on the screen right now, Emily with the headphones on. Emily is our go-between. So Emily she is the only one of us that is watching the Zoom and watching the OV at the same time. And so she's going to copy and paste all the questions over from OV as they come and put them in the chat box. So just as a reminder to you, Matt and Michael,
Mhm.
when you're all up and running and going, please make sure, and Paula, you as well, just keep your chat box open on the side, and Rachel will be doing that as well. Rachel will be leading the conversation, but just keep your chat box open because you'll see questions coming in. And I know, Emily, 1 or 2 people have already commented something. So even starting right now, Emily's just going to go ahead and tell us what the feedback is or what the comments are. And other than that, Paula, this is going to be just like every single panel discussion you've ever been on. Rachel's driving the bus. She's going to guide all the questions between everybody. Emily will be filtering in the questions from the audience. And
I'm sorry to interrupt. A couple of people are commenting that they are having visibility issues. Sorry, now a couple of people are like responding with suggestions. Someone said, it says video unavailable. This video is restricted. Try signing in with a G Suite account, but the person is signed into their Google account. And 2 people said they're having the same issue. Someone suggested that it might have something to do with Chromebook from schools blocking them. Sometimes they have weird like firewalls.
Are you
I
guys,
just
are
wanted-
you guys able to see the link right now? Can you guys go to the link and?
oh
make
yeah,
sure?
the link is running
Good.
because I can see the video playing right now, and
Okay,
there's
good.
nothing that's restricted. And it seems to me like of the 66 people that are watching, 3 or 4 are having technical problems. And we, knowing the general public, if it was a problem that everybody was having, they'd all be writing in. So it probably has something to do with the school systems, because I did see that SAISD was logged in through a few people, and it might be the school system blocking either OV or YouTube. So
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I think everybody is kind of self-suggesting things to do to fix it for those 3 or 4 people.
Okay, well, I'm glad YouTube didn't restrict it or something. So
Oh
No.
yeah.
it doesn't sound like
Mm-mm.
that.
Nope, I tested it ahead of time, and we did a test of this on Tuesday
Mhm.
as well to make sure that it would run and nobody would be restricted, and it was fine.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's all good. And then somebody's asking if this video will be available to share with teachers. And I'm sure that's either a Juan or a Michael or a Matt. I'm not sure how public the video is going to be after this screening.
It's a great question. Probably not in an uncontrolled way where anyone can have access to it, at least not initially. So probably available through screenings and that kind of thing.
Yeah, for a while, just screenings.
Okay, I'll share that with them.
But they can watch the entire series on Amazon.
That's right.
Perfect.
Emily, can you see how much longer the
Yeah, there's about 18 minutes left.
Okay. I can get a lot of stuff done in 18 minutes.
And you
So-
can, Paula,
You absolutely can, because that's the good thing about now is it's kind of given us all a chance to see each other, answer questions, and just let you know how it's going to work. But at this point, if you need to like mute or turn off your video and get some other stuff done and just listen to us, I'll give you guys like a 5-minute heads up to say, hey, we're about 5 minutes or 7 minutes to going to live. So
Okay.
I understand 10 minutes can be amazing when you can't do anything else except sit at your desk and get something done.
I am going to cut my camera off because you shouldn't have to be looking at me. Just,
Paula, just
rummaging around.
before you disappear on us, Paula, for a few minutes, just heads up, I'm not sure you know all the collaboration we have between CPS and KLRN and Disco Learning Media and Itron and my group at the University of Texas on smart energy education. So screens like this is just one thing we do, but we have the Power Trip TV series, which has reached 1 million people. We have smartenergyeducation.com, which has reached tens of thousands. I can't remember how many students in the San Antonio area. And this is all in partnership with CPS. We couldn't have done it without you. And Itron and some other groups and Steffi on your team have all been great. So I want to thank you for being a partner for educating people on energy and environmental literacy. This event is just one of many efforts going on, and local partners like KLRN really make it happen. So appreciate that. So I want to say thank you before you disappear, but I know you come back in a few minutes for the Q&A.
Well, look, the team here has been passionate about it. And so thank you for pointing it out to me, because sometimes I don't take enough time to just sit and appreciate.
Well, it doesn't always
everything
ripple
that's
to the top.
happening.
You got a lot
Yeah.
going on. It's hard to see it all. So, but it's a good partnership. It can't do it except for collaboratively, and CPS is a key part of that equation. And we're reaching a lot of the students in the San Antonio area throughout Texas, but actually globally now as well. So, just want to make sure you knew that, because it might not always make it in the memo that hits your desk.
It does not, but we have been really proud of the relationship we've had with Itron. I'm, forever a fan of KLRN. They kind of got each other on speed dial as things pop up. And, luckily the talent engine here, Michael Weber, is so prolific. I'm going to continue to have the ability to keep promoting the stuff that you're doing, which is what I'm living. So anyway, all kinds of goodness. So thank you for pointing that out to me.
You're welcome.
My hundreds of emails make me not be in the moment, but anyway.
We get it. Go tackle a few things. And we'll see
Okay, all right. But I'll be listening.
Okay.
Thank
sounds
you.
good.
I have a quick question, actually, maybe for Rachel. Are there going to be any sort of pre-scripted questions that you plan to ask us, or are you just going to go with what they're asking?
Probably both. So we had some that we used last time, so if it would be all right if we used similar questions this time. And then at the, I can share those with you absolutely right now, if you'd like as well. But we usually get a good response from the audience. So if it's all right with everyone here, I'll take the questions that Emily passes over.
Sure.
And make that a priority, and then we can have our icebreaker ones if people are taking a little while to get started, or if we need a little extra time.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to stop video, but I'm going to be still listening, still here.
Sounds like a good plan. Thanks.
And Michael Weber, just so you know, Juan answered the teacher question saying we're working with KLRN on ways we can provide this 30-minute video to educators in the near future. So Juan and Matt, at least you guys, Michael and Matt, at least you'll know that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I included an old question in there for Greg Teakin. So if anybody wants to take that one, that's absolutely available, but I just didn't take I didn't remove the name, excuse me. Oh, and just to make sure that I'm introducing everybody as they would like to be introduced. Are there any changes to introductions that you would like? Anything that you'd like for me to highlight differently?
Not for me.
No, I think that last time was perfect.
Perfect.
I
Thank you.
will go by whatever you say I am.
Sounds good.
Empress of the universe. Like
That's
that.
Empress of
perfect.
the universe.
Haha.
She who shall be obeyed, or something like that. Let's come up with some new titles.
And Emily, just a reminder that you and I will both kill our screens whenever it goes.
Sure.
We're at the 10-minute mark until the panel, you guys.
Great.
I'm going to go ahead and cut my mic because I'm going to be typing, but we received a question for you, Miss Paula, and it is, I will read it aloud to you, and then I'll put it in the text feature as well. Excuse me, in the chat feature. It says, please ask Paula about CPS Energy's long-term community commitment with programs like FlexPath and Flex Bundle, and how programs like these tie into the sustainability concepts of the Power Trip TV series.
Mike, I'm gonna go ahead and let you have that fracturing question. How about that?
That
I
sounds
don't want
fine.
any of that.
Yeah, no problem.
That's just an icebreaker question. So if
Very.
there's something that you'd prefer not to tackle, that's just filler. So please
Okay.
don't feel obligated. That's not a question from the audience.
I quite frankly, I have no experience with that one. But anyway,
Yeah.
hydro.
Okay.
I mean, is it just regular fracturing?
That's just hydraulic fracturing. Yeah.
Oh,
So I
okay.
can talk about
Hydro.
that.
I thought there was something new that they were, doing relative to the water nexus. I mean, you use water. to
Maybe.
frack it,
I don't
but-
know. Yeah, but we'll see if there are other questions. If not, I'll tackle that one.
Okay. I thought there's a new technique or something.
do you know what time, hey, Matt Haynes, do you know what time the credits start rolling? At what minute?
I don't, I'm sorry. I can
Okay,
look.
that's okay, that's okay, because I usually will, I'll try to, right now, it seems like we're probably less than 5 minutes away from panel.
Yeah, it should be right at around 30 minutes.
Well, okay, yeah, and the thing runs, it has a runtime of 35:08. That's why I was wondering.
Oh, okay.
So you guys.
35:08.
can,
I thought it was 30 minutes. That's longer than I
Yeah.
thought.
Me too.
Well, no. I'm sorry. The we had Sherilyn's video ahead of time. So 35:08 is the total
With her video.
runtime for
Got it.
this. So I was just trying to kind of calculate when the credits would start rolling. And if you're saying that it was right at 30, then this should go right up until the end, right up until 35. So anyway, we are about 5 minutes away, everybody.
Thanks, Katrina. Sorry, delayed response.
No, you're great. You're great.
So my son is doing drumming practice in the background, but in his room with the door closed. Do you hear drumming behind me?
Never would have known.
Not
Good.
at all.
Okay. Good to know.
He must not be practicing hard enough.
He's in a different room, doors closed, and it's on a practice pad, not the drum itself. So that helps.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
It's often, and my other son plays tuba. So as well, and my daughter plays French horn. So as well, French horn, tuba, and
Oh, wow.
drumming all at the same time.
I did marching band in high school, so I have a lot of respect for anyone who picks up the French horn. That is a hard instrument.
It is, yeah. We are a marching band family, so we recognize
Love
all the
it.
character stereotypes for each person. I'm the self-absorbed, arrogant trumpet player, which maybe you could have guessed. My wife's the goofy trombone player, and my daughter's the elite French horn player, and that kind of thing. So
That's so funny. The stereotypes are true
Yeah.
because that was exactly it when I did
Yep.
it.
yes, it transcends space and time, which
Oh yeah.
Okay, everybody. So this is what we're going to do. If Paula and Matt can come back to the screen, that would be great. Is somebody named Loretta Kerner with one of your organizations?
Yes,
Okay, so I should let her in.
yes, that's fine. Thank you.
That's great.
Will she have a panel, a pane?
She
during
will
the-
not be on, I'll explain that to her. I have about 3 minutes to explain it to her.
Go
But
ahead.
so Emily and I are both going to go off the screen right now, and we're also going to mute, so we'll communicate through typing, okay? I'll have to tell Loretta when she gets on that she'll have to mute herself and no video as well. Loretta, can you hear us? Okay. Anyway, Loretta, if you can hear us, I am going to mute you, and I'll need you to stay muted because of the panel discussion. You would come through the Zoom if so. So I'm going to mute you as well.
So it looks like we're just 3 minutes away.
Can you see the video, Rachel?
No, just us.
Okay.
Same for you guys?
Yeah, I'm not watching the video itself. I just wondered what we were seeing.
Oh,
Thank
yes.
you.
So this will be similar to the last OV screening. We'll just be seeing each other, and all of the participants who are watching the OV will see us, and it will appear as though we are on OV, which we'll be able to respond to their questions, but we'll only be able to see each other.
Thank you for that explanation. I was actually
course.
reading like, in the Power Trip video, like what part it was at right now, but
Oh, I'm sorry.
that's okay. No, it's fine. If you guys wouldn't mind sending us screenshots later on too, that would be great.
Kids and oranges, said Katrina. And a kid with a cardboard airplane.
Oh, okay, thanks. Yep, it's almost over.
Thank you all so much for being here today. I know it's going to be great. We really appreciate you all.
Be fun. I'm excited.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for our OV screening of Power Trip. I'm Rachel Salinas. I'm the Director of School Services here at KLRN, and I'm very honored to be joined by Paula Gold-Williams, President and CEO of CPS Energy, Dr. Michael Weber, author of Power Trip, Chief Science and Technology Officer at ENGIE, Josie Centennial Professor in Energy Resources and Professor of Mechanical Engineering, and Matt Hames of Alpheus Media and Director of Power Trip. Thank you so much for being here today. Looks like we've already got some great questions from our participants, so I'm going to go ahead and get started with that. So Rishu asked, there's a question for the panel. What are the first priorities for electricity in use of, electricity use in terms of city planning? For example, where do activities like lighting, communications, and utilities lie on this list of priorities?
Well, I'll gladly jump into that. So when you're a utility for a community, and of which, again, the San Antonio system is connected to the state. So even if there's a problem in the grid in North Texas, it's connected. So we take our position very seriously. We're a 24/7, 365 organization that makes sure that we are focused on providing all of these services and focuses as a priority as the normal everyday operation. So I can't tell you that the lighting itself is the priority. It's the energy to all of the systems, including the lighting and the communication. It's clear to us that we've got to push the power all the way out, and we have fiber rings and all types of technical systems interconnected to make sure that we're able to take the power that we generate and push them out to businesses and homes. Now, relative to lighting, we spend a lot of time working with cities and counties and different neighborhoods, TxDOT, in terms of moving their lighting technology to more efficient lighting like LEDs, and then encouraging more innovation along the way. But the point is that we kind of, I always say we're flying the plane while rebuilding it. It is part of our absolute priorities. We even do city planning with the city of San Antonio and there's 30 other incorporated cities across San Antonio, and there's counties. We talk to everyone because we understand that we've just got to make our systems and infrastructure work in terms of providing all the power that is needed. And if we can encourage along the way the use of technology to advance conservation and energy efficiency and low emissions to non-emissions of power, that's what we do. Is just a normal course of our business.
And maybe I'll add some more comments in addition to what Paula said, which is the priorities today, like Paula said, are multiple, are a little different than the priorities, say, 120 years ago. So cities started to electrify 100 to 140 years ago. In the first two priorities a century ago were lighting and water pumping. And then the third priority was maybe streetcars to move people around. Electric streetcars were pretty typical. Today, if you want to keep the city healthy, it'd probably be water pumping and water treatment. So back then, 100 years ago, you didn't do water treatment. The water mostly was clean and people didn't know about the diseases or problems in the water. But today we know about it, and there's more pollution and there's more people in each city. So you do water pumping and treating, and then the lighting is for public safety and the water treatments for personal health and safety. So those become so important. But now with all these smartphones, I think of my smartphone here, and we have all these devices, everything else. So now we need electricity for everything. We need natural gas for heating. So the needs today are multiple, and we feel like we need all of them, but some of them didn't even exist 100 years ago. So the priority for a city might vary based on where you are and where in the stage of the advancement of the city or the wealth of the city is as well.
Thank you so much. We have a question for Matt. There's a great variety of filming locations in the episode. And could you discuss what it was like filming in the different locations? And if you could talk to us about the cameras that were used for filming.
Yeah, well, kind of like Michael just said, I get kind of building on that. There are just different geographical needs for energy in different places. So some places might have a lot of water, some places might not have a lot of water. And so we wanted to travel all over the world to different places that had a different sort of geographical situation that were quite, you know, how they built their energy network kind of came out of that. So we filmed in Israel, we filmed in Singapore, Japan, Ireland, all these different places. And it was pretty amazing to go around the world and get to talk to people that just had a completely different perspective on their energy situation, which was just related to the geography that they're from. In terms of the cameras, we used Sony FS7. That was kind of our main workhorse camera. We also used a Sony A7S II, which is a DSLR. And then we did quite a bit of drone work, especially as the series was drawing to a close. And I should add that we were just about finished shooting when the COVID lockdown happened, and we just got a little tiny bit more footage. And luckily we were just about done. And then we went into editing and finished up the editing and delivery to PBS and Amazon and Apple during the COVID lockdown. So that was all very interesting. So we went from traveling all over the world to just working in a few rooms to finish up the whole series.
And didn't you use a GoPro also? So you had a couple scenes where you used a GoPro. For
You're right.
Uses, yeah.
Yes, we did. We put a GoPro, I believe, in a sink and inside of a little water canister, and then also inside of a little gas pump where you put the nozzle for gas. So yeah, that's right. I forgot about the GoPro. Thanks.
That's wonderful. Thanks for sharing. It sounds like you're also very creative in the way that you shot it, and it looks beautiful.
Thank you.
We have another question here, and this is a complex question. So it seems like the government is undeniably connected to energy and environmental concerns. In your opinion, to what extent does the government have the power to control its citizens' non-renewable energy usage? And how might it be possible to reduce our population's carbon footprint without the influence of government?
So maybe I'll answer this first. So Paula will have a different view, maybe because the municipal level of government engagement is different than the state or the federal or international government. So I'll make a couple comments. The way government is part of this equation with energy will vary based on where you are. The French national government has a very different relationship with its citizens than the American government. And in France, they might have a much more centrally controlled decision-making apparatus. So France in the 70s, for example, decided it would go heavily nuclear for its electricity. And that's a set of decisions that we don't make in the US. Our decision-making is not as central. The federal government is not choosing for us what kind of power plants we'll build or what our energy systems are. Our decisions are much more distributed, either at the state level through regulatory commissions or the municipal level, like where Paula's choosing, making decisions with their stakeholders about the future of energy. And at the consumer level, we have 330 million Americans. We have 330 million decision makers about energy. There are some examples where the US federal government built specific things, especially if you go back to like the 1930s with electrification and hydroelectric building big dams in the Pacific Northwest and in the Southeast with the Tennessee Valley Authority or something called the Bonneville Power Administration. So there are a few quasi-governmental federal agencies that actually built things, but for the most part, it was built by individual decision makers, private markets, private companies, and municipal governments. So a lot of our build out was done through this combination of factors. So for the most part, the government doesn't control what we get. We are all voters and stakeholders and decision makers on that. The government does, however, regulate some of the pollution. The government will say you build whatever you want, but it can't pollute above a certain level. If it does, you have to pay a fee or a fine. This is particularly relevant for things like acid rain, where if there are certain smokestacks that emit certain precursors that will form acids that then rain down on the forest and kill the forest. That was a big problem in the 80s. And so there is government regulation on the pollution. It doesn't specify what form of energy you use. It just says you can't pollute over a certain level. And that caused people to add scrubbers to the smokestacks or maybe switch from coal to natural gas or wind and solar and that kind of thing. So the government certainly has a hand in policies that shape the pollution levels that we can tolerate or can't exceed. Mostly doesn't decide what we build or where we build it. That's mostly done by private markets, with some historical exceptions around hydro in the United States. But then in other countries, and Matt mentioned Singapore earlier, in Singapore, the government is making a lot of those decisions. In France, they're making a lot of those decisions. So the answer will vary a lot where you are.
Things I'll add to Michael's commentary, very much through regulation, and there's quite a bit of regulation associated, as he said, with working to limit pollution and emissions from plant. There is, excuse me, a tremendous amount of emissions currently from our cars, and you don't see that much regulation, except for there's always a measurement on what the emissions and the air quality is in your area. That is all true. Additionally, through the federal government and the IRS, when they give tax incentives, either production tax incentives or rebates for different types of technology, and other provisions, those are ways to create positive incentives for investment. And you've seen it in wind for years, or we've seen it in wind for years, and in solar. And those are ways to encourage, just like the federal government has also done a ton of work associated with making appliances much more efficient. And that's the undercurrent of the lower energy usage over the years. So much has happened. Previously, freezers, refrigerators, washers and dryers, and dishwashers were huge consumption components within the home. And underneath all of the things that utilities have done and businesses have done, just the regulations associated with tightening up what manufacturers have to do has made a huge impact on improving the environment. We haven't had an energy policy updated in a very long time. I think it is one of the conversations of the day. What could the federal government do more? When you do see countries in Europe create a lot of alignment between the federal, state, and local levels, I think that is probably one of the best ways to create more momentum and leverage the dollars all the way through. But you're not constrained, as Michael said. The state has, regulatory impacts associated with also following through on air quality in your particular area, monitoring water, the water quality that you have, and requiring you to do certain things to protect species, protect the water quality, the how hot the lakes get, things that you utilize. CPS Energy, working with its owner, the city of San Antonio, though, created its own funding mechanism. One of the real challenges you have is that to do these things, you have to have money. And the federal government has a big budget and it can print money, but there's a downside of that. You eventually print so much money, you devalue your dollar and cause other economic issues over time. So you have to be really careful where you allocate. Also, when you put a lot of funding at the federal level in particular into these new programs without any source, you basically create these big budget deficits and create all these other pressures, because that money has to be made up in some way. Us working with the city of San Antonio, we created an energy efficiency and conservation program, for example. And in that one, everybody pays into the program. Every single customer, every business, every resident, the average resident pays somewhere between $3.50 or $5.50. We put it in a pool, and then that pool of money is there matched to a bunch of programs. And so someone can get their home weatherized, or they can put a solar system on their home. They can, you know, get a rebate on appliances, all of those things. It's based upon what a customer wants to do. And so by creating that pool, and in total, we spent about $800 million over a little bit more than about a 11-year period. And that money was reutilized to do those things, to make the products put in homes, and then therefore energy usage came down. And then it starts to, again, create more of a momentum for people to say, I want more of that. What can I do? But there's, again, the limit is how much money people can pay. We all want to move very, very fast, but most people say, I don't want to pay more than about $5 a month into a program of which I may not directly benefit. I get society benefits, but I may not want to do anything else on my house. And then I would just say, you put on top of that COVID, where many people have lost their jobs, for us to ask them to pay $10 a month instead of $5 a month. When $5 a month is a challenge, it just becomes very, very difficult. So I say the answer ultimately is the ability to match the funding, the physics of the technology that you're trying to do, and overall the policy. Those things have to be, when we can do all that together, you get the best momentum. But until then, every little bit helps, every program helps. And what we do here is we generate our own local programs, but we're constantly looking at, does the state, and we participate in it, does the state have a grant program to help us install batteries? And by having that generation and that ability to optimize renewables, a solar farm, we in turn create more opportunity to save energy, to clean up the environment, those kind of things. So we'll look at those state dollars and federal dollars whenever we can.
Thank you so much. And speaking to that community commitment, would that tie into the FlexPath and Flex Bundle programs?
Well, yeah, everything, you know, the way I look at everything, there's an ecosystem of trying to create enough components, again, to create critical mass over time. In 2017, when I was kind of thinking through how much has to change for the energy industry just in general, let alone CPS Energy, to advance into these new technologies and really kind of think about how much better can generation be? What will customer preferences be? When we saw that disruption coming, I wanted to create a flexible path forward where we're always constantly open to and looking at new ideas in terms of what's the next best thing. How do you improve your renewables if you can, or if you really can't get a whole lot more out of your solar program, how do you optimize it with less emitting, what we call firming power? So that, you know, we've been on that journey, but this year, what we did at the beginning of the month is we issued an RFI, and it was a global RFI that we put out. It's in 10 languages across the globe, and we're asking everybody to think about energy solutions. And we don't want to be hampered by the fact that there may be physical distance, somebody may be halfway around the world. We're telling them that we're substantially looking for new solutions. Included in a bundle. Every single energy type has benefits. Everybody loves solar because it's clean and, you know, the sun is shining and all that's good. The problem with solar is when it's not sunshiny then you're not going to get it. So it's weather dependent and time of day dependent. And because of that, people say, well, that's not a big deal. It is a big deal because your life goes on 24/7, 365. But we're saying, what if we got 900 megawatts? I mean, that's a lot. 900 megawatts of additional solar. We put in some batteries, and that's at about 50 megawatts. And that's because lithium-ion batteries, a utility will use them too quickly. They will be deep cycle them. And so you don't get the optimization of a battery. It helps, but not enough in itself. But you say 900 of solar, 50 of lithium-ion batteries, and then 500, this is the big thing of what we call firming capacity, something else. And so we're trying to attract, again, someone telling us, we've got this proven technology that we've been using for a long time. We just haven't shared it. And you can use that to optimize your solar and have the best of all worlds, have all the goodness and then mitigate the exposures. So yes, for us, our energy efficiency program is connected to our focus on technology, is connected to our RFI that will turn into RFP. And when we get that new bundled energy, we'll take that and replace our older units, our fossil. We have quite a bit of fossil in our generation, but they're older. And so that's how over time we'll do it methodically, and we'll do it objectively, and we'll improve our carbon footprint. And our goal is to get to non-emitting overall, but you got to do it in chunks so that you do not create rate shock for your community.
Thank you so much. We have some more questions. There's a question from Rocco. How and when has energy dependence contributed to globalism, and what problems has it caused?
So maybe I'll take a stab at
Go
this.
ahead.
And yeah, I think it's like globalization. So energy enables globalization. Think of like prior to the availability of gasoline or diesel powered ships, we had sailing and we had global trade, but it was usually very specific items where we would trade cotton to England and then they would sell us bricks back or something like that. But because energy in the form of diesel or these bunker fuels and gasoline, things that let ships travel the ocean more quickly, then we could have more trade. So we had more ships going. And by the way, from wind, we went to steam power, burning coal to make steam, and steam power with steamships, and then gasoline or diesel powered ships, and now planes. So as transportation goes faster, enabled by new forms of energy, that enables more trade and cheaper trade of more items. So now we trade many items around the world. It's not really unusual to have a salad with food items from 12 different countries from thousands of miles away, or to have a shirt made in a different country, this kind of thing. So energy really has enabled global trade, which is what most people think of when they think of globalization, that we have goods and services wherever we are from around the world. Energy is also one of those things that's traded. So we sell natural gas from Texas, we'll liquefy it and sell it to Europe. We will import oil from the Middle East. We will buy wind turbines and solar panels manufactured in China with batteries made in South Korea using lithium from Bolivia or something like that. So energy and energy technologies enable global trade, and energy technologies are traded globally. The problems are multiple, although there are many upsides. Many upsides are you usually get access to more goods and services more cheaply and more conveniently, this kind of thing. It can be more efficient for the economy. It can be cleaner depending on how it's done. But the downsides are you might be buying energy, for example, from countries that don't like us. Or you might be buying lithium or critical materials from countries who don't like us, countries whose foreign policy does not align with ours, who work against the things we're trying to do, like establish peace and democracy around the world. So globalization and global trade can undermine other goals. Even though it might get you access to cheap energy, it might make your foreign policy experience more complicated. So there's some problems that arise. Another problem might be the production of that good and service might be done in a country with really loose labor laws or loose environmental laws. And so you lose some of the environmental justice or social justice issues we care about, which is fair living wage and safe working conditions and clean air and clean water. Sure, it moves the pollution away from our cities, but it moves the pollution to someone else's cities. So there are downsides to global trade. There's a lot of good sides. And I would say, well, let's get the good stuff and not the bad stuff. Let's push for safer, fairer labor and environmental standards around the world. Let's make it fair and equal trade, not just open trade. And let's work to solve that, because we like these benefits of a global economy, because as we lift ourselves up, we lift other people with us. That's good. And we get access to higher quality life. But we don't want to just push the pollution and the bad labor practices or the bad foreign policy into the corner and pretend it's not happening.
Thank you so much.
Michael did such a great job. I think that's great. So we'll see if there are other questions in that area. It's right on point.
Sounds good. There's a lot of participation happening, so I'm gonna follow up with some more questions.
Okay.
Someone asked, with transportation, how are you planning on limiting the amount of cars and at the same time being able to transport so many people on a daily basis? The US has significantly less public transportation than other places like Japan. Will this change in the possible future?
Well, I don't know if I see any policy people here on the call, but I'll take a little stab at this. So I mean, just for clarity, some people ask us, like, why don't we change the codes associated with even building homes, like requiring electric vehicle charging stations and solar panels and no gas and all of those things. And in reality, we're the utility company. And so a builder, we think that those policy issues are great for the public to weigh into, for the builders to think about how to make these things happen. And then policy people, council members, representatives at the state and federal levels, senators, things like that. I mean, so where we come in typically is to inform and be a resource and talk about the technical ability to do things. But maybe, I'll give you my personal opinion. It's, trying to force everyone through penalty policies, I think is a challenging thing. We know we do need to convert, but if we told every single person again today that they all have to have electric vehicles by the end of the year, we know that wouldn't work. And I'm not even sure how well it would work if you gave someone 5 years to do that. I'm older, been out here a long time. I remember when people were required to wear seatbelts. That was so controversial because, again, the behavior, cars used to not even come with seatbelts, but then the behavior of people, my mother she used to be tricky at first. She would just hold her seatbelt down and pretend that seatbelt out of defiance until she just gave in. And so this whole thing about how do you force people into acceptance of policies is interesting. I mean, look, I'm wearing a mask, but you can walk down the street today and find people who today will not wear a mask for health. And so I think it's a challenging thing, and I'm not a politician, so I'm not expert in this. But I do say that utilities do own a huge impact relative to the environment because we're mass producers. We have big plants and a lot of infrastructure. But the next thing typically in line, as you're exactly right, is transportation. And that still is also plagued by the fact that how do people change, and find money in their budgets for electric vehicles? Prices are coming down, but to just force people to change when they do that, how do you make that happen? Also, how do you create enough infrastructure so that there's charging stations everywhere like there are gas stations? Trying to incent that so that private investment comes in and puts those dollars in to support that conversion is a big deal. Now, I'm telling you the things that we have to do, but I feel confident that we can do them as we continue to work together. So we will continue to make our improvements on the utility side. We are going to start to encourage more electric vehicle charging stations. We're changing our rate structures so people can get those rates. They should be coupled with higher prices if you're trying to charge your car at 5:00 p.m. That's not environmentally responsible. You should be charging your car at night. We should not be stressing the system and all of those things. So we're going to shape how we function, offer more things that support the transition to these new technologies, and then talk to politicians and legislators, other businesses to try to bring them in so that we can create enough alignment and collaboration that we actually make that transition to those electric vehicles much easier. The end point will be buses have to change, but when will we have an electric fire truck? When will we have industrial type electrical vehicles? Those things, because they're typically bigger emitters. All of that stuff has to be addressed to make it really effective.
Thank you so much. We have a question here that the importance of food was discussed in the video. Could you all expand upon the impact of food waste and ways to decrease it in the context of energy?
I wonder if, Matt, do you want to answer this? So you, I'm very happy to talk about food and waste, but you filmed a lot of good scenes on that.
Yeah, it's amazing how much food is wasted in the United States, but all over the world. We kind of had a list of B-roll that we needed, and B-roll is just basically the shots that you kind of use to cover, interviews and ideas. And unfortunately, it was very easy to get those shots of food being thrown away, you know, only partially eaten or not even eaten at all in the United States. And so we were able to get that. But there's, you know, also an interesting idea that sometimes waste can be wealth if you think about it in the right way. And so we were encouraged to see some of the solutions that people are taking to turn, you know, what we consider waste into something that can be used. I mean, everything from composting to fuel, things like that. So in a way, it's really good that there is enough food, that we have food abundance, and we're not trying to solve our, you know, food security problems, at least here in this country. We got to go to Minneapolis and kind of see the birth of the whole milling system up there on the river. And, you know, we've gone from this kind of society where we're always looking for food, and that's kind of our chief goal. And energy allowed us to get to this point where we have this security now. And I think the next step is to also use this energy to waste less, or to take the waste that we have and turn it into fuel or other things that we can use.
So, one comment I'll say, just was a fun part of filming with Matt, as we went to many countries, as you heard him say earlier. And since food is one of the things we're looking at, and food waste, we got to eat in a lot of countries. So we had food in France and Israel and Singapore. And Singapore has very diverse food, many different tastes and culinary traditions and that kind of thing. That was a lot of fun. But the most striking thing for me is, it's in the series. So this is just a 30-minute thing you saw today, but there's a whole 6-part series on Amazon Prime that people can go watch, or Apple TV, whatever. There's a whole scene just of eating food at West Point at the U.S. Military Academy with 4,000 cadets, where they serve 4,000 cadets in 25 minutes. Imagine this, getting the cadets fed so that they're ready to go to classes and everything else. And actually just getting the military fed is one of the logistical challenges, and just the numbers of apples they eat in a day. So food's a big thing for us as a society. And how do you do that? Well, energy enables it, and then minimizing food waste is a key. But I think that was one of the most fun parts of what we did with the 6-part series, was all the food we got to sample around the world. So everyone should try to do some global movie making, because it introduces you to some new tastes.
That sounds like a wonderful idea. On that note, we would love to ask for a final round of everyone sharing their last statements and thoughts with us.
Well, I'll jump in a bit. One, I really appreciate all of you who made some time to look at the video and then hear about the series that Michael has been working on. And he is a prolific writer, a Texan. We're Texan rich to have him here. And he's talking about these things that I know are really important to everyone. I mean, how can we do better? Part of it is understanding the connections. Part of it is understanding the origins of things, and what, you know, how did we get here? What was the history and all of that? And learning from that, and really being passionate about getting involved and thinking deeply about these challenges are important. I'm gonna say always that declaring victory on we just should do this, or we should just do that, and that's the right thing to do, it's okay. There's a place for that. That leaves us in a place where we are hopeful and aspirational. But the actual work takes a lot of effort. And again, on our flexible path, we're trying to make very definitive statements and steps along the way. And we need people who are coming out of school to be interested in this and help us be creative and think through it. And, you know, as much as I hate to say it, you can't go all solar today. You technically just can't. It can supply a good portion of your power. It will increasingly be a part of our energy solutions. Just about every other mechanism. I mean, it's all dependent upon water and usage and all those things, all those connections happen, but we have to keep reinvesting in being creative, reinvesting in these efforts that actually link it to new actions and new technologies and new bundling of opportunities. There's no single linear solution. it's like a portfolio of us doing a lot of things together responsibly and caring about the components, not just by ideology, but by action. So I'm highly encouraged that you took the time and that you're interested. I highly encourage you to look at the videos, read the books, ask the questions, join the industry as we're trying to figure out this new evolution. It's an exciting time. We're blending the old, the tried and the true that really does perform reliably, safely and securely. And we're bringing in the new stuff along the way. And that is exciting. That is going to be a place for new ideas and new thoughts. So welcome in and please stay interested and thirsty and curious about this subject.
Thank you so much.
I'll jump in with a real quick statement. In Germany, you can go outside on a Saturday. I believe it's a Saturday, maybe a Sunday. And if you try to mow your yard, you might have neighbors that come out and kind of shake their fist at you and don't want you to do that, because it's sort of an unwritten rule, not necessarily a law, that you're not supposed to do that on a certain day of the week. And that's the culture. We went to Singapore, and it's very interesting because Singapore is so land constrained that and water constrained that they have to really control tightly the country with laws, and sort of dictate where people can go and what they can do and when they can drive and things like that. And it makes sense for Singapore, and the way that Germany does it makes sense for Germany. And I would say that the United States, I see, a lot of times questions around, can we get more control over people in the United States? And I think that we're just kind of dealing with different cultures in a way. And having traveled all over the place, what I would hope to see is that we can somehow change our culture a bit through education, through things like this discussion today, and people that are watching this, being curious and wanting to learn and wanting to improve themselves, to make a kind of a better future for America. And as someone said, that's where the young people come in, who can come along and innovate and solve these problems. We've always kind of like come up with something new and then kind of backed ourselves into a corner and then gotten out of that corner with something new. And that's what I hope to see in the future in America.
And I'll just close by saying that on top of what Matt and Paula said, that the energy problem is too big for any one person or company or city or country to solve. It will require collaboration. This is the most collaborative problem to solve yet. And I think that one way to do it is what Paula says, just getting smart on energy and doing education. And this screening of this conversation is a part of that. And this was also collaborative in nature. So I just want to very publicly say that the things we're doing with this screening and this series and the books and everything else was done in partnership. And the key partner in this case was CPS together with Itron and the San Antonio Area Foundation and KLRN and Disco Learning Media with Juan Garcia, who's not shown, but was part of this, and with Alpheus Media with Matt and his whole team, and then the University of Texas at Austin. It took teamwork to pull together this 30-minute video, this 6-part series, this conversation. And that's an indicator of what it's going to take to get out of this problem. This problem being energy is too environmentally damaging or too expensive or too unreliable. How do we improve the affordability, accessibility, sustainability, reliability of energy? Well, we're going to improve it by working together, not by working against each other. And this educational conversation is just one way to do that. It's an example. And I hope you enjoyed it. We certainly enjoyed the conversation and look forward to having more engagements like this.
Thank you all so much. A big
Thank you.
A big thank you to Paula Gold-Williams, Matt Hames, and Michael Weber. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for our partners, CPS Energy, University of Texas, Alpheus Media, Disco Learning Media. And just want to say thank you to all of you and come again. We would love to talk with you again soon. Thank you so much.
Great.
Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Stay safe, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, Paula. See you.
See ya.
See you.